Welcome to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. A look at modern and retro games with a dark sense of humor. Introducing your hosts, Steve.
Well, I'm a wreck now.
Harry.
Put it in my mouth.
Clarke.
That man had one testicle and hit home runs, goddammit.
And Joe.
This went off the rails very quickly.
Let's start the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go! This episode is brought to you by Deep Creek Glassworks. Deep Creek Glassworks has been making hand-blown durable glassworks of art since 2013. Ornaments, glassware, and much more. Deep Creek Glassworks has you covered. Can't find something that tickles your fancy? Just ask. A few of us have gotten different beer glasses and ornaments and stuff from Tanner, and he does absolutely excellent work. And just for our listeners, you'll receive 10% off with your first order using our promo code SUPERFUN. All orders are shipped in crush-resistant boxes and all with free shipping. That's right, free.
Free!
Free.
So show your love for small business and visit deepcreekglassworks.com. Check out their Instagram and Etsy, Works spelled W-O-R-X, today.
Shattering expectations, not our glass. It's a slogan, apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, dig it. It's on the hat.
All right, so tonight we have Joe.
Are you ready to see your world and the ones that live in it as they truly are?
To my right, Harry.
Truth seeker.
And across from me, Steve.
I must make a choice.
And I'll be your host tonight, Clarke. Despite the treatment, I again hear voices in my dreams, but they are different, unknown. They seem to surface from unfathomable and ancient depths. What nameless creature is calling me?
Someone had a fucking paragraph ready.
All right, tonight for our 100th episode. Woo!
100! Holy shit, motherfuckers. 100.
And this episodes.
Yeah, it's 100. God damn.
We are going to dive into Call of Cthulhu. It's the newer gen version because there was an old gen version, but this one came out in like 2018, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Cthulhu. Katagan.
When you say old gen version,
Xbox,
okay,
like the original Xbox.
yeah.
Yeah, let's dive into initial impressions.
I'll go.
Go ahead, Joe.
I knew nothing of this game other than that I know that you love sea creatures and Cthulhu.
Fair enough.
And the first 20 minutes of this game, I really didn't want to play it because I thought we were playing LA Noire again.
Okay.
I was very upset.
This isn't nearly as frustrating or long.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that. Yeah. All I knew that there was the name of Cthulhu in the title, and that was about it. So I kind of had an idea. It's like, all right, so this is going to be kind of like Lovecraft type thing. And yeah, hit the nail on the head. And oh boy, did that was this a little bit of a ride down that fucking journey. Jesus Christ.
I knew nothing about this game, but then as soon as I heard Cthulhu, I was like, "Oh, this is definitely Clark's pick."
Yeah, right.
Wasn't the first pick for this, but due to time constraints, we picked. I had to pick this. So,
Other than that, no serious first impressions. I was up and down on how I felt about the game throughout. Like there was some really good high points, and then there's some really shitty low points. So it's all over the place. We'll see how the review ends up being by the end.
Yeah.
me personally, I've always been a fan of like the Cthulhu mythos and things like that. I'm not a fan of H.P. Lovecraft though. I need to he's actually like a terrible human being. Like as a person, he's awful, but like his literary work is really, really well done. And I want to get a little more into development because I found something interesting kind of while I was going down that rabbit hole.
All right.
So, yeah, I there was a streamer that I watched named Hybrid Panda that started playing through this game and then he completely stopped. And I needed to know like what the deal was with the game. I saw it on sale. I picked it up. Never actually played it just because I have a whole backlog of stuff, and it's been sitting there, and every once in a while I see it and I'm like, okay, I'll eventually play this. And so that's why I brought it up. I was like, you know what? It's been sitting in my backlog. I think it'll be a good, interesting thing to pull up because most Cthulhu-based things deal with madness, so it's always an interesting topic to discuss.
Yep.
And I knew it was kind of like to a lesser extent, a choose-your-own-adventure. There are certain things, and there's wildly different endings. So, with that said, do we want to hop into development?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Game development.
So something that I found interesting about the development is the game was originally announced in 2014 and then sat in development hell for 2 years with nobody doing anything to it.
Really?
Yes. And then in 2016, they announced that the game was still coming out. And
they're still doing this.
Yeah, like, hey, we're still doing this. And then there was nothing for 6 months. And then they had, like, gameplay and stuff. So, like, this was kind of, like, quickly put together, I would say. Because it did eventually come out in October 2018. And, some of that stuff is definitely noticeable. There's some big polish that this game is missing, but it had some development hell. It had some character getting to the finish line of getting this game out, which I thought was kind of interesting. But
yeah,
but other than that, not a lot is really known about it. They just kind of it just kind of had this like mystery, like, hey, we're still doing this after 2 years, and hey, it's still coming out.
So the pizza's still coming. It's still coming. Just wait.
Yeah, we haven't made the pizza yet, or started making the bread or the dough,
we're waiting
or
on the cheese, I swear.
Yeah, we're just waiting on the cheese, and then we'll be good to go.
We just broke ground on the building for where we're going to eventually make the pizzas.
We're shipping in the cows that we're going to milk out of to make the cheese, but it's coming. It's still coming.
We've just run power lines to the land. But yeah, I mean, that's all I had for development. I don't know if you guys like found anything interesting online. The only other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on in development was the rabbit hole that I went down about H.P. Lovecraft and like the resurgence of it has a lot to do with Lovecraft Country, like it kind of like tied in.
Now, do you want to call it a rabbit hole or like a wormhole? Because that seems a little more like
squid
on
hole.
The Lovecraft.
We could go into a squid hole.
Squid hole?
Oh, my favorite kind of hole.
I know, right?
Out for that ink, man.
A cephalopod hole.
Cephalopod.
Okay, so basically, H.P. Lovecraft was like a really terrible racist. It's in some of his works. He was a guy from 1920s, so it's kind of he was in that time area. He was in that time period where like it was more common, and like there were way more people that haven't necessarily been exposed for it, but because he's a famous author, it sits in his backlog.
Now, as Lovecraft, was he like an Englishman? Was he American based?
Yeah. He was up in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, I've heard the name come across, and the only other reference to it that I know of is like Cradle of Filth, where it's like Lovecraft and witch hearts.
Yeah. They, I mean, Cradle of Filth is like obsessed with H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh yeah,
like,
definitely. You see that in all of the album work.
So something that I noticed, is that, well, not that I noticed, but something that I found that I thought was interesting is a lot of people look at H.P. Lovecraft's work and they're just like, it is undeniable that he is a founder of modern horror and like he's an absolute genius. However, he was a terrible person. So there's this really big resurgence of taking his work and putting ethnicity into it. There's a show called Lovecraft Country on HBO. Deals with Lovecraft, and it actually follows like an African American like family that is cast into a traditional H.P. Lovecraft story, and it's a bunch of his short stories, and it's incredibly well done. It's based on a book written by someone who's a massive fan of Lovecraft, but not as of the human. It's of the work.
Yeah. Which I mean, it seems to be like a lot of what's happening these days, where you look at like old things and it's like, okay, for the work that's put out, that's really smart, in depth, and everything else. And then you just look at the person like, oh, you're a piece of shit. Okay. So then it's like, find the way to separate the two.
Right. And just with the way things are, I didn't want us to all discuss a Cthulhu game without also just being like, hey, like, we understand that, like, this
fuck Whitey.
This has some like terrible fucking roots from H.P. Lovecraft. Like, and you know, it's just acknowledging and there's this whole movement that is about acknowledging the genius that was H.P. Lovecraft and then also moving forward and denouncing his worldview. Let's dive into story. I get to make a bunch of sea puns.
Yeah. Ahoy, me matey.
Hope that floats everyone's boat. All right, let's dive into story.
A lot of sunken ships.
Motherfucker, I am buoyant.
Story.
All right. Detective Edward Pierce is approached by the executor of the Hawkins estate with a case to investigate the death of Sarah Hawkins in the town of Darkwater. Upon arriving in Darkwater, Pierce is cast into the mouth of madness. Strange paintings, occult sightings, and maddening experiments by Dr. Fuller at the asylum set the backdrop to this mystery. While investigating the fire that took the lives of Sarah Hawkins and her family, Pierce discovers that both Sarah and Charles Hawkins are alive, and not well. Sarah was captured to become an oracle for an elder god, and Charles sacrificed his humanity to become her protector. Charles fails, however, and in that, Sarah succumbs to the call of Cthulhu, the elder god. She then works alongside a cult to bring the elder god back from the depths. Pierce uncovers all of this in search of the truth, and in his truth, he finds the Leviathan, a demigod whose motivations remain mysterious as he opens Pierce's mind and doors to future possibilities. This all culminates in the ultimate choice, and ones that we will be discussing tonight.
I mean, this was a very, very, very story-driven game.
I was okay with it. I was actually kind of glad. I was like, this is a very nice change of pace.
Oh, yeah. It's nice. This is one of those kind of games that it's nice to break up the flow of, like, the type of games that we have and whatnot. And especially where it's like, oh, well, I actually have to sit, pay attention, and focus on
the
what's going on
and everything else.
Exactly, so I can actually get the understanding instead of just being like a monotonous, just click through and do this and then do that.
And finding clues and stuff like that actually helps your character level.
Yeah, like actually being like a investigative and then having skills that can make you more pertinent.
Investigative.
Yeah, exactly. And not only just in investigating, and then you can do like for more expanded dialogue. That's something that I always like, is where if like, okay, well, maybe I can put it into strength, which only
is a waste of points.
for the most part, I will say, except for one, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But to be able to put points into, oh, okay, well, if I put more time and energy into building up this one stat, I will get more options of being able to talk or do something, or, you know, finding books for like the occult, because once you get up to a certain rank, then you have a whole different type of dialogue. That the relay.
Yeah, it's I forget what the name of the actual. It's like
Relia.
Or Relia, like the Relia language, I think.
Relia, Relia. I think
yeah,
it's the way it's pronounced. Yeah.
It's like the language of the elder gods. And you start getting like when you're occult. When your occult knowledge gets up there, you can start answering in the occult language, and that just starts getting real fucking crazy. Like, it's just I think that's probably one of the more interesting aspects of this. Instead of being like good or bad, it's how much sanity do you have?
Yeah.
And answering in the tongue, like, so it's kind of funny. It's like it's kind of like counter. It gives you all of the chances to not fall into madness by continuing to not answer and not peer into the madness itself. But the more that you answer that, the stranger the game becomes in general.
Yeah.
You'll start to see more things in the background. You'll start to
hallucinate more and everything.
yeah, you hallucinate more. The heartbeat thing happens a lot more.
Like the panic attacks.
Yeah,
that
the
he gets.
panic attacks and stuff like that. Like, and I think that's kind of interesting because that in essence is all of the Cthulhu based lore is about madness.
Oh yeah.
And how if you won't help, he'll just make you mad and then no one will fucking believe you. And I think that's like the ultimate like kind of like torture to somebody who's like been involved. Like if Pierce just goes absolutely fucking nuts, no one's ever going to believe him and he'll just end up in an insane asylum.
Right. I mean, it was interesting how they rolled out his story where it's just like, oh, I'm a World War I vet, basically, turned detective, and I just get this plea of help. And then it just rolls into, because I think it was Sarah's father initially who came in and said, it's like, I'm fear for my daughter.
I thought it was his uncle or her uncle. Rather.
Yeah, it wasn't
Maybe.
it wasn't immediate family.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I was unsure of that when I was writing the story segment, so I just went with the executor of the estate because that's what he was. Like he was like, I give you permission to go. I give you
right.
You know.
It was just I mean, honestly, I think that just speaks to how crazy this fucking story went. Where the important launch piece was just lost in the rest of it because once you started getting a little more deeper and a little more involved in it, then you're just like, wait, what the fuck just happened like 3-4 hours ago? It's like I'm here in the now. I mean,
I think the game has really good recall. As you're going through, it really I feel like it pays off a lot of the previous story consistently. I don't feel like there's a lot of like dropped loose ends.
No, not so much. I feel like that's a little more once you start getting like 2/4 into the way of the game. Because
That would be a half.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, I think half is fair. When then it starts recalling a little bit more. Yeah.
You said 2/4, and he was like, "That's half," and you were like, "Yeah, I guess half."
Yeah.
He might have said 2/3.
No, he said
No, I said
2/4.
2/4.
I heard it too.
I did.
Oh,
say
he might have said
2/4.
2/3.
And then fucking Steve
gonna say
just,
that.
Joe
I
just
had
jumped
to call
right
him
on
out.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, that's half.
Are you descending into madness?
maybe.
Maybe.
Are you guys brothers?
God, not again.
That was fucking weird.
But I feel like the pace of the story was very awkward though. Like
Sure.
I didn't really. So this game was what? It was 12 chapters or 14? I think it was
14.
14.
14. Yeah.
So I feel like the story to me
14, yes.
didn't really start like the development of it was very slow for like the first 9. Which would be like 9/14 of the way through.
So about 2/4 in. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
But really,
Yeah.
I mean, the one chapter was like a third of the game.
Yeah, and it was so boring. Like in the beginning there, I was like, oh.
Was it the sneaking chapter? Is that the one you're talking about?
Whatever chapter 9 was, that was like the longest fucking chapter.
the one where you're in the asylum and you're
Yeah.
sneaking around and
Yes.
you have to
yeah,
like
as like
And you
two
got-
or
and you gotta
distract
power up.
the guards and shit.
Yeah, that one's rough.
I tried to do as little as possible there, but it just didn't work. And I was like, I guess I'm doing everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get into that in
Yeah.
the gameplay
Yeah.
portion, but yeah.
But yeah, so basically after that point in the game was where I was actually like, because previous to that, I was playing the game, I was trucking through it, but I wasn't really like satisfied with it. But then after that, I was like, oh, things are really like happening now. And I feel like things were really developing. And maybe that was because of how much more I was descending into madness.
yeah.
Because at that point was really a turning point for the madness for me. And I don't know if it could be before that. But that's where things got really fucking off the wall. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm getting into this now. Like, obviously right before that, you descend into the caves and you finally see the occult for the first time and Charles for the first time.
Yeah.
and all of that. And I was just like, okay, shit's getting fucking weird finally. I'm not just like walking around this fucking weird ass island.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm in dark water. Oh, there's like 3 drunk old fishermen just singing me a shanty. Which, don't get me wrong,
You love a good shanty.
I do love a good shanty. But then it's like, as you get in and like starting learning about like the family, and then there's like the creepy caretaker, which I was expecting him to be a little more prevalent in the story, except for when he showed up at a later point in the game when like you found out whenever Sarah and Charles, like their child, like when he died like in the fight, then you saw, okay, he actually came in and saved Sarah.
Right.
And that was the only other time that you saw him, compared to him saying, no one goes in this house. What are you doing here? Da da da.
Can I speak on that for a moment, actually? Because this kind of builds on that. So when you go in the menu, there, as you're encountering these different characters, they're building this database of, hey, you met this person, here's a little backstory. And I thought this game was going to really turn into like a whodunit kind of mystery. And it didn't.
Yeah.
They were just
Well, yeah,
filling up your menu with
It's
profiles.
just like, oh, you met this person. Okay, what do they do? I don't fucking know. You met them. That's it.
I mean, it was
Okay.
a whodunit until he realized that there was the fire. Like until he realized the cause of the fire, and then he was like, okay.
I don't know. It was an unnecessary element to the game.
It almost is in
pitched
every
it.
game. I mean, let's be honest. Almost
Yeah.
every game
Yeah.
has some type of clue or book or whatever that you're like,
Right. But I totally get where you're coming from.
yeah.
It's like I was expecting a little more out of that.
I don't know. It just felt like I was giving me that vibe, like the first, like 2/4 of the game, or the 3/6.
Fuck you!
Please, Harry, 4/8.
4/8. Sorry.
For it, Jesus Christ, 8/16.
No,
Son of a bitch.
no. I did feel that I actually enjoyed. I think the first half of the game more
Really?
than the second half
Because of that element.
I thought the investigations were a little bit more interesting.
Okay.
Like actually learning the characters and learning about like the great catch and finding all these clues and piecing things together. That was interesting. And I knew there was going to be like a madness element to the game. But
That felt like more like a murder mystery.
yes, but better than like LA Noire.
Yeah.
LA Noire sucks dick. This was actually an interesting investigation to me, because I was interested. It was like a dark story, and it had that element of like I thought they could have just like coded the madness elements on the story instead of making it essentially all about the madness towards the end of the game.
I don't know. I almost feel like it had to go to that to bring the story together, like to bring in the madness. And it's like, because I get the whodunit and like the mystery aspect, which, you know, is fun for any game, but that doesn't necessarily seem to be the theme of the game, you know, like in the very beginning. And then it starts getting into like the weird shit, and you need to bring on some of the weird shit, and it has to almost kind of be confusing, or at least in my, you know, mindset, it's like I feel like it has to be that extra bit of the fuck is going on, because it's just so obscure, I think is the best way I could describe it.
What I was saying earlier about recall is actually why I appreciated this game so much, for like the narrative and things like that, because that sort of recall is really important, because it validates, in my opinion, it validates both sides of that coin. Something that H.P. Lovecraft did really well was he wrote the mundane, which is kind of the beginning of the investigation. I'm not saying it was mundane, but it was not the horror that everyone associates H.P. Lovecraft with. Yeah. And then he writes the horror really well. And I think what makes him a masterful writer, and what they kind of captured here, is I think they married the two really well. Because if you really think about it, the whole reason that Pierce goes on this case to begin with is because of the painting that's given to him. And that painting itself is madness. Someone gives him this clue that is just absolute madness. It's foresight. It's like she was an oracle then when she was painting and painted that picture of him, and the paintings are really what tie the whole game together until the Shambler gets banished, because then they kind of don't talk about the paintings anymore. Depending on what ending you got, there's some paintings involved, but I think that's one of those things that, like, you know, 3/4 of the way through the sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No,
like,
you're fine.
But like
motherfucker,
3/4 of the way through the game, it's the pictures that pull you, and then once you get to the pictures, if you're still like what Harry was talking about, like interested in the murder mystery,
right,
then you have, you know, 2/3 of the game that's all about madness, pulling you to that final last bit that is just all madness, and it's just explaining all of the madness and why everything before it happened. Right. And I think that is like what kind of magnetizes people to his work in general, and like what I think the game actually did incredibly well.
Yeah, I think adding the element of the way they presented, it's like a contrived, but the descent into madness, and through the portraits of seeing where it kind of starts like, all right, well, that's a weird one. Okay, that's weird. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's me again. This is a weird one. And it kind of like starts getting deeper and deeper and deeper. I really like that aspect. I thought that was a really nice touch to it, and in a way to present the story. And it just kept developing pretty much up until the very end. Again, I don't know. It was like the final portrait, like based upon like your decisions and everything.
Well, 2 of the endings have portraits, 2 of them don't.
Oh, okay. I didn't have any portraits in mine.
I had a portrait.
Okay. Well, let's discuss the endings in a second.
Oh yeah, we're not there. I got some other elements I want to trash real quick.
So one thing that I think is interesting, and I could like relate to, is that like if I'm investigating like from these like weird like pictures and stuff, and then I see a picture of myself that was painted from someone I had never met before, and it is like photorealistic, like it was, you know, essentially in the game.
Then
like,
I have a giant erection.
Well, like that's what Sarah Hawkins used to completely guarantee that Edward Pierce would continue. I think that was her vision, but I think she painted that specifically to guarantee that he would continue on.
Yeah.
And not run. He's like, well, why the fuck am I in this story now?
Exactly. If you saw like a painted portrait of yourself of someone you've never saw, you're going to be like, that's a weird coincidence. It's like, no, but if she's saying something that involves me, she made that? Okay, let's see where this goes.
Right.
How could you say no? Unless you're like a reasonably minded person to be like, all right, this is too fucking weird. I'm out.
But it's interesting because Pierce isn't even reasonably minded when he starts. He's an alcoholic and an insomniac at the beginning of the game.
Well, who isn't?
Oh, I'm just saying in general, like it's one of those things that like you kind of notice, like he has the sleeping pills that he starts finding all over Darkwater.
Yeah.
He already has those sleeping pills, like the same brand, the blue bottle and stuff like that.
That's how he knows. He's like, huh, you take these too?
Yeah, okay. He's like, huh, that's weird. And then he realizes that like Dr. Fuller's like the one making them. And he's like, wait.
Yeah.
I've been consuming these before I was here. How long have I been a part of this? And like it's that realization, and the fact that he's an alcoholic, and also the story gives you the option to continue drinking.
Oh yeah.
Throughout the story.
Every time, like when you're in the Hawkins home, there's a glass sitting right there. You can go up and it's like, oh, I'll take a sip. This will determine your destiny. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, I did it once too, and I saw that, and I was like, I'm not drinking anymore. I was like, no more.
I didn't drink at all.
No more.
I didn't have a
sips.
single one. I got that achievement.
Me too.
Oh shit! I had like 2 or 3.
I had one, so I fucked the achievement, but I don't think I
should have just kept going. Steve.
I should have. That's where it's like, oh well, if this is gonna affect my destiny, I guess.
Harry, do you want to get into your gripes, and then we can talk?
Yeah,
about
no,
endings?
I think this is a pretty legitimate gripe too. But please counter my point when I get to it. So the characters in general, I think 99% of the characters in this game are so shallow. There is no complexity to them. They're just I don't know, just a cardboard cutout with a name on them.
Okay. Well, then with that, I will counter. What's the other 1% then?
And I'm not even saying it was well done.
Okay.
I'm just saying it had a little bit more depth than your average. But Kat, like the gang leader,
Yeah.
a little unbelievable, but it's whatever. She was in the game.
Why was she unbelievable?
Because it was 1920s and she was a female.
Well, no, I just like she was the only female on the island. She had all this like I don't. It's just she was
Felt kind of out of place.
It was very out of place. Her coloring too. So all these guys were super grayed out, like shadowy.
She's very pale, but not gray.
Yeah, and clean, and clean.
Cats clean themselves, Harry.
Oh, there you go. yeah, help.
I need an adult.
Again, I didn't think he was a well-defined character, but he was probably my favorite character other than the main character was the cop.
Bradley, okay.
The voice fucking drove me nuts.
And the
I'll
voice
be
was
honest.
bad.
But
Did
We'll
you
get
feel
into
like
the
he
voice
was
acting and audio because I have a lot to say about
yeah.
that.
But do you feel like his character was the most authentic it would be for the time period?
not really.
and
I think they were all stereotypes. I think they were well
Why would you say that, Harry?
over the top stereotypes.
No.
They weren't like believable characters.
I mean, he's just sitting back and saying mean things about us. Why was what he do is that?
But he was the character I sided with 100%.
Yeah.
Like I always followed his
Bradley
instinct.
over
almost
everybody.
felt bad with him when the nurse died.
Did you tell him that the nurse died?
Nurse Marie, like you can tell they're like friendly when they first meet, like and you see them.
Callan or Cullen?
Marie Cullen, I think that was her name, something like
Yeah,
that.
I can't remember.
And maybe this is a story thing, I don't know, but like for me, like she, what the hell was it? You did something.
You play as her when
Yeah,
you're
and then you
sneaking around
play
the
as her,
hospital.
but it's a
one part.
vision. Like Pierce has a vision of her, and she's in the hospital, and she comes across Fuller, and Fuller does an experiment on her that ends up killing her.
Yeah, and then after you wake up, when you first find Sarah Hawkins, and like you're in the upstairs, and you can go downstairs, and the first time you actually get to talk to Sarah, before you go downstairs, Officer Bradley is sitting at a table upstairs, and you can talk to him. And
I kind of remember that. I don't remember that part of the
You can
dialogue.
see
though.
how like a caring kind of like
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, "Oh, what
somewhat
happened
like
to her? Is
wife-
it okay?" And-
Wife,
yeah,
Sound just like
And it's
like,
like
a
it's
wifey or
like
motherly kind of relationship there. it
Yeah,
seemed
he's like, you
She-
guys were more than just friends, and he's like, I don't know if she felt the same way I did.
right.
I don't know if I had those conversation prompts. I think I went down a different rabbit
well,
hole.
now
with them.
if you didn't necessarily go across like the upstairs to go talk to him,
Well, I talked to him second. I talked to her
Okay.
downstairs first.
gotcha.
So I don't know. Maybe that had an alteration.
Maybe
with it.
because you're when you're upstairs, you start talking to him and you tell him that Marie Cullen was like in the hospital. It's like, is she okay? And it's like,
You
no,
can lie to
it's
him,
not
too.
okay. It's
Yeah,
like,
you can lie or tell them the truth.
did you have something to do with it? It's like, no, I didn't.
Bradley's in the room. Let's talk about the evil generic doctor that's been used a million times before.
I'm here for you. Let me do experiments. Of course, he's fucking
Again, it was
German.
another stereotype. Like how many times have you seen that character in film or other games? Like that. Just to sum up my thoughts, though, please give me counter arguments if you have them. But I think the characters were pretty bland.
Yeah, I definitely feel like they're definitely stereotypical, but they're also based on characters that were originally kind of like conceived in 1920 and have been so played out now at this point. When you go back to that source material, they seem stereotypical.
Yeah, to an extent. But
To
I
an
mean,
extent, and I understand they could have taken creative liberties with the characters and made them more in depth. I definitely get that, but like the whole experimenting on humans and turning them into creatures and like the cephalopod stuff, like if you dive into like what he's actually doing to make him an evil doctor, I think he's fascinating. He's like, okay, I'm gonna like take this ichor from this fucking giant leviathan and I'm going to inject it into you to like literally see what it fucking does to your body. Yeah, like, oh, you start to become like a cephalopod. You're like, you start to develop suction cups on your fingers, and you start to like grow gills a little bit. And as we saw with Charles, he turns into like a half cephalopod creature.
Yeah, and then you go back to the stereotype of stupid fucking cop where it's like, oh, Dr. Fuller is the most respected in his field, not to mention in the town, this and that. It's like, okay.
It's because the town's taking all of the drugs that he is prescribed.
Oh, yeah. Have you gone like 4 stories down into the fucking basement where this shit's going on? It's like, probably not.
Bradley's also on the sleeping pills.
Oh, yeah.
Bradley, Callan, Pierce, Hawkins, everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
Everyone's on the sleeping pills.
Yeah. Dr. Fuller is Pfizer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Come get your pills, boys. And ladies. Don't want to discriminate or anybody else.
So, do we want to talk about the endings?
All right. So, I got 2 choices for my ending.
Yeah, I believe you're only presented with 2.
I mean, it was the, what was it? The ritual, go with the ritual or counter ritual are the 2 that I had.
Those are the 2 that I had as well. Did anyone have any different?
Samesies.
Okay. I just did the ritual because why the fuck not?
I countered the ritual as my actual playthrough, and then I went and reloaded and saw what the ritual looked like.
Okay. Joe.
I did the ritual.
Ritual? Harry.
I did the ritual.
Okay. So you're the only one who went counter ritual off the bat.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Actually, a little bit. Yeah.
Why?
You're usually like, I want to go for the dark ending. My name's Clarke.
That's exactly what it sounds like too. Do you get the call before he does it to us? Like, Clarke, what are you gonna do? I'm doing the dark ritual. I am Clarke.
Yeah. Renegade playthrough.
Renegade.
So here's the thing.
I am the dark wizard. What the fuck?
When I'm actually in control of a character and can do something that's like a little more interesting, it's typically the more interesting thing to do. I do that. I've always found that like being evil in a game or going like the renegade as opposed to Paragon path is typically the more interesting story.
Okay,
so in most games,
you went the more Paragon way then by going counter ritual.
This time I did because
sorry, go ahead.
I went full madness though.
Okay.
I went full fucking madness.
Okay.
But I decided to make it interesting and go counter ritual because I wanted to see what it would be like if Pierce could actually stop the ritual from happening. And he does.
Okay.
But at a cost.
Okay.
It's
what happens then?
When Leviathan tells him that there needs to be sacrifice, he sacrifices himself. He stops the ritual and he pretty much just goes completely insane. At the end of that, once he stops it, he's insane and he's locked in Fuller's asylum for the rest of his life and it just pans out and it's the blue little pills sitting on his nightstand in the asylum.
So that's why you said was that the one you were commenting on in the Discord where you're like, I'm unsure of the ending?
Yeah.
Of where because it was weird when you said that where he said sacrifice himself, where one of the other like 2 options that neither of us had is sacrifice yourself, and I didn't watch the whole video, but from what it looks like, he just puts the gun up to his head and fucking blows his brains out.
I've watched all the endings at this point.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so there's one ending where he kills himself, and that's to be a non-participant and not decide. So he allows Sarah Hawkins to decide the fate of everything. He just takes himself out of the equation.
Yeah, because then the other option for the, we'll get to the one that we all chose in a second. The other one, doesn't he...
Hold on, there's another thing about that ending.
Okay.
When he does that, I think it's at Sarah Hawkins... Or no, someone's like packing up his detective agency.
Okay.
After he kills himself.
Right.
and there's a painting of him blowing his brains out that was painted by Sarah Hawkins, which means that she survived, which is typically like not something that happens in most of the endings. But like, so that's like one of the paintings. Do we want to discuss the other one before we get to doing the ritual?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other one where he kills Sarah Hawkins, right?
He doesn't kill her. He gives her the option. He puts all of the weight on her, and he's like, he's like, I won't do it. He's like, I will not make a decision. Which has the implication of he is fine with the answers that he has gotten, and he no longer needs the truth.
Honey Badger doesn't give a shit.
Because the truth is the ending, essentially.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he is the truth seeker. All he wants is the truth.
right. And when he decides to stop seeking the truth and takes himself out of the equation, it puts all of the pressures on the other players in this game.
Yeah, he's like, I'm out, bitch.
So Sarah Hawkins goes to take the knife, and she like thinks she's going to stab him, and then she drops it and then walks off the fucking cliff.
Oh,
She just turns around and walks off the cliff.
that's it.
And then it goes to his detective agency again, and he's sitting there drinking with a painting of her in a pool of blood, like she fucking knew it was going to happen.
So it all comes back to the fucking paintings.
It all comes back to the paintings. Like,
Son of a
I
bitch.
think that's what's the most interesting. I think those are the two most interesting endings, honestly.
Yeah.
Just for the ramifications of like the truth seeker stopping himself.
Right.
And stopping the madness, essentially. He overcomes his own madness to not continue forward.
Yeah.
Or to thrust that madness upon somebody else and be like, look, I'm not going to be a part of this. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And she just jumped. Because she won't kill him. So she's just like, all right, I'm just going to jump.
All right, I'm out. Yeah. I'm out, bitch.
So that's kind of those two endings.
Yeah. And then there's the one that the three of us had.
Yeah.
Where it's you take part in the ritual and Sarah cuts your belly, you bleed a bit, and then people are, I don't want to necessarily say rejoicing, but then it's
the word I was going to use.
Yeah. And then because, well, Cthulhu's or Leviathan, whichever one.
It's Cthulhu.
Yeah, Cthulhu's making his way out of the fucking
Making
sea.
my way.
Making my way. And then all you see is just like a quick flash of Cthulhu in the background, and then credits, and then you hit skip credits, because that's what I did. And then it just turns into everybody who was on like the ritual rock, which is basically like a really fucked up Pride rock. If you think of like Lion King,
it's a very
where
dark
like,
Pride rock.
Instead of like, it's like, oh no, we're smashing each other in the head with fucking rocks and whatnot. Complete madness. And then there's a pool of blood, and it starts leaking out, and it's Sarah Hawkins. She's fucking dead. And then it pans up, and you see fucking Edward just like smashing bitches with rocks.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
like,
like,
just
he
full
goes
fucking
full-
caveman. Oh yeah, full ape. And no painting in that one, but a lot of rocks.
Yeah,
which
there's
is,
they're painting rocks with blood.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. With so with that lesson, boys and girls, collect some rocks. You never know where you're going to smash a bitch in the head.
Yeah, that I think that ending is like absolutely fucking brutal, and also like the epitome of what would happen if like a being like Cthulhu was unleashed on the earth, because he would just remove all of the inhibitions and like the different psychological locks and conditioning that we all have to not be savage animals. And I think that's a really interesting way to just be like, yeah, so Cthulhu came, and then literally everyone went fucking psycho.
Yeah.
And just everyone would kill each other. That's
Yeah.
just how it would be. I think that is just like, it's the right ending for that choice to bring him out. Yeah. Leviathan was a demigod
Yeah,
of Cthulhu's. Like, he's kind of like,
he was the one who brought it about, because like they ate my flesh.
yes, he's
Yeah.
the one that kind of fueled the cult, but also
Hey guys, you hungry? You want some squid? Got a little calamari for you.
when I was saying that he was like kind of like a mysterious interloper before, the way like demigods work in like the mythos of like H.P. Lovecraft and things like that is like they can't be pure anything. They can't be pure evil or pure good. So most of them are just like this really crazy, chaotic neutral. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to like build up this entire cult that's like all like drinking my blood and drinking my ink and eating my flesh.
Drink my ass.
I'm also going to like help.
Drink
my ass. It's a little of everything. I call it a cocktail. Get it? Tuck it back.
So he also like kind of like props up Edward Pierce to dismantle all of it.
Yeah.
He's just like, I just want chaos. Like I don't
go fuck shit up.
Yeah, there's no good
Yeah.
and bad for Leviathan essentially because he's a demigod.
He's just there. Yeah. He's sitting in purgatory, which is Earth anyway. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing, bud? I think it was really sad that Sarah basically killed her kid with a fight with her husband because she,
in a fire.
yeah, got pushed aside and fucking lantern oil everywhere and then just died in a fire. And like, poor kid. What was Simon? Was that his name?
I think that kid probably got lucky.
Compared to what could have look what happened to his dad. Yeah, hey, that's bad news bears right there.
Yeah, we didn't even really talk about Charles Hawkins like
whole like thing. I mean, his whole thing was like, I'm going to protect my wife, and then
he was trying to protect him from the cult, thinking that Dr. Fuller would help him, when really he was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to fucking turn you into a fucking weird monster thing.
Yeah, so you have half human, half squid face, and then you got tentacle arms, which, you know,
gives him super strength pretty much.
He's got like super hentai arm, and he's doing okay there, and then he gets stabbed. I will say it was very surprising where it's like there was the whole I don't want to say battle scene, but
confrontation.
Yeah, confrontation between Charles and Edward, and then you just see like the fucking iron poker come through his neck. And it's like, oh shit.
And Sarah's just like, nah.
She fucking stabbed that bitch. It's like, I'm going to... It's like, oh, he's really getting in the role. Oh, no, he's dying. And then...
For me, for that point, I was just like, I didn't trust Sarah Hawkins.
I know.
But Edward was so lost into the madness at that point that he was just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, by that point, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck to go with right now, so we're just going to go. That's why I was even surprised that I, got flowers for Algernon and saved him from being, like, ripped into the painting from the Shambler and whatnot.
I did that too.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, you got him? Okay, yeah.
That wasn't hard. All you had to do is shine the light for like a second.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. It's like every time I saw Algernon, I'm like, I read that book.
If you don't save him, you cannot stop the ritual.
Oh, okay.
He is a key component in stopping the ritual.
I could understand. Well, I mean, he's there and he's present, and they did not kill him. I was half expecting them to kill him at the end of the game, and I'm like, he's still alive. That might mean something for the fact that I didn't let him be dragged in. It's like, but I don't want to get like too much. I think there's still going to be like a bit of like story going into gameplay, because some of them are like not too far off from each other,
and the gameplay, there's not a ton to talk about for the gameplay, I feel like, but
I feel like it's just scary stuff in the fucking Shambler. I mean, that made me pee myself, and I got hard nipples one time, so it was very, very frightening.
So speaking of gameplay, do we want to creep our way into gameplay?
Gameplay.
Oh, the gameplay. So, basically, the generalized version of this is there's some sneaking, some dialogue choice, and there's like a little bit of action. Some shitty shooting?
Some really shitty shooting.
No aiming capability shooting.
Strength. Yeah, I pull the trigger better.
Yeah,
really.
You press the button when you're like close to him and just pop. Dead, like you don't have to really aim.
Although, once I got towards the end of the game, I started using the guide just so I can get through faster and finish the game. And they're like, oh, make sure you're close enough so that way you don't miss your shots. And I think I had like 3 strength, like 3 out of 5.
I didn't put any points in a strength.
It may have been 4. I don't know, but it was like I didn't really have to be that close. I still waited until I was pretty damn close, so that way I wasn't like wasting ammo. But I mean, it wasn't that bad. But yeah, it's pretty much your gameplay is running, dialogue, more running, confusion, run some more.
Puzzles.
And
there are some puzzles.
Yeah.
Before we get too far away from it, the shooting part really pissed me off because there was no way to tell how much ammo you had. So I assumed initially there was infinite ammo.
Yeah, there's not.
It was very wrong.
Yeah.
Until he said it's like...
And it was a pain in the ass to sneak through the last little bit there. I was like, son of a bitch. I was like, I definitely cleared out a bunch of guys that I did not need to.
Yeah.
And I was just like...
And then you hit a checkpoint and you're like, fuck me.
Yeah.
You didn't know until he said, oh, I'm empty. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Really?
So the weird part is, additionally, I played through that part twice because I didn't run out of ammo, but I got caught off guard by somebody and died.
Okay.
And then the second time I played like that little scenario, somebody that I had killed in the previous, or no, it was the cop was getting overrun.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think initially the first time I played through it, I didn't see that. And either I killed him or the infected or whatever the fuck they were, maddened people killed him.
Conservatives.
Yeah.
Yikes. Big yikes.
Cthulhu, big fan. Biggest squid.
Big fan.
Big squid. The biggest squid.
Longest tentacles you've ever seen in your life.
Huge tentacles.
Huge.
So, the first time I played through it, I had even less ammo, apparently.
Yeah, Lammo?
Yeah.
Kablamo!
Because the second time I played through it, I saved him, and he handed me additional ammo of an uncertain amount because I never knew how much I had.
Yeah, he was
so
like, oh, here's bullets, okay?
Yeah, he was like, here, take this
4/8
ammo.
of a clip.
Oh, God. I was like, what the fuck is this? The worst mechanic in this game.
Yeah.
Like, you really
Not knowing
shoehorned
your
this the
ammo.
fuck in here.
Oh,
They should have taken that out. Like, I don't know how that missed.
Yeah. That was rough. That was almost like the undersea airplane in Devil May Cry. It's like, why are you here?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, there's no need for this. If anything, let me punch somebody. Or I just picked up a knife.
Jeez. Yeah. You couldn't do anything.
Nah, I couldn't do shit.
So
I was like,
So that's going to be our big topic for the gameplay segment, just how shitty
the
this last
shooting
chapter
was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, the sneaking part of it, the only time that the little, like, peek around the corner, huh? Or over to the other side, huh? Like, it only came in handy in, like, the last 2 to 3 chapter
sneaking around the
12.
asylum too.
Yeah, that one chapter.
Oh,
It was-
yeah.
You can outrun them, though. Whenever they found you and they started running after you, you just
Everything
outrun
in the game that chased you was always slower.
them.
Yeah.
Even the
Yeah.
Shambler. It
Yep.
didn't matter.
Oh, the Shambler could catch you.
Really?
Well,
I got caught by
I think
the
that was
Shambler.
pathing, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you took a wrong path,
if you
and
went
it
the
cut you off.
long way around the table and he cut the short way, like, yeah, okay.
Which, I guess now that we said it, let's at least, like, discuss the Shambler. I mean, he only showed up a couple times in the game,
They were frightening parts.
but holy fuck.
Butt clenchers for sure.
Yeah.
He's terrifying.
I mean, I thought it was bad enough just trying to, number one, like, I guess you can call it an action/puzzle sequence, was when he first came out of the painting from, like, in the collector's home.
Yeah.
And just trying to sneak around and trying to find the right dagger or whatever instrument to use to put him back was difficult enough. Let alone you're just walking around and just hear, it's like, what?
Can
I didn't know there was a slip of paper that tells you which one is the correct dagger.
Wait, what?
He says it too.
Wait, what?
If you
He
pick
says
it
it
up.
when you pick it up.
Yeah, there's a piece of paper in there that tells you which dagger it is, and you can see where all of the daggers are beforehand. I didn't realize this because
no.
I died to the Shambler there at least 6 times.
Yeah.
It was every dagger except for the right one, like pretty much every time. And then I had the right one at one point, but he caught me instead of me running up to the painting and stabbing the painting and pulling him back in. But like, fuck, it was so tough. Like it just, if you don't find that piece of paper, you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. And you don't get a second shot at trying to find the piece of paper because of the autosave. You don't get to walk around the museum again.
Yeah, no, you start as soon as you get knocked back from the painting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait.
And the knives are randomly placed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So every load, everything changes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I just kept running around and hopefully finding the right one.
Honestly, sneaking is not the way to go on that battle. You just keep running. You, like, lose them in the main room.
Yeah.
And then you break one, he'll come over to you. And then if it's not the right one, you just do another loop around the room, make your way around again, smash another glass until you just rinse and repeat until you find the right one.
See, I just did my usual Steve thing and struggle until I get past it. And there was a lot of struggle. Same thing. 6 may be conservative in the amount of times I've died at that point.
Oh, I attempted to do the sneaking at first and hiding in that closet.
Yeah. And then you see him come around, he looks again, and then he walks away, and they get out of the closet, and then he turns back around and fucking finds you. It's like, son of a bitch!
He just lifts you up and then stabs you.
Yeah.
I think after the third time that I died to him, like, I was just like, all right, I'm just going to pull the guide up here real quick. And then it was just like, oh, when you pick up the right dagger, he says this. And I was like, oh, okay. So I literally just, like, went and, like, I just kept picking up daggers until he said
Oh
the
my
right
God.
thing.
Yeah. Smash. Is this it? Nope. Okay. Smash.
I mean, it was still
smash.
problematic, though, because every time you smashed, like, there was that delay where the Shambler is still coming for you. So you still had to do the whole, like, oh, I gotta trail him off again, hide in the thing. I know this is the wrong dagger. I still have to then go back out.
Right.
You know, you still had to do the whole losing him thing again.
And every
But I
time
didn't
you
have to try the painting.
Every time you smashed it, he heard you, and he's like, oh, you're here, bitch. I'm coming for you.
Or if you turn on the light, too.
I didn't even realize there was a light.
Well, your lantern thing.
Oh, okay,
the lighter.
I didn't even realize that was a thing to slow him down. I probably missed the little
Oh, I don't think that
tutorial,
slowed
but-
him down at that point. I think it just notified him. like breaking
Just
the
like,
glass.
you're a
Gotcha.
fucking idiot.
Like, I need to see this dagger.
Oh, I see you seeing that dagger. I'm coming for you. It's like, oh, fuck. Please,
Yeah.
no.
So
That was intense. And then, again, Shambler. Were you going with another Shambler story? Because I'm not done with him.
no, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was going to talk about the part in between that and the second Shambler part.
That's a long spot. Let's go with the second Shambler part.
Second Shambler
There's
part.
like 5 chapters there.
When you're still like in the asylum as
Is this
Edward,
where you're bouncing back and forth on the lights?
you have the 2 different lanterns.
Okay, this is exactly what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, I count this as the other Shambler because you hear him walking around and you try to follow that little glowy light and whatnot. And then because you have the green light, which gets you to where you really need to go, and then you have like the purple pinkish light, which
Oh, that's not the spot I was thinking you were talking about. Okay, go ahead.
which like kind of lights the way so you can see like the area that is available to you.
Yeah.
And then you can go back to the green light to get where you need to go. So after all this shit, and you like, I think he may have popped out once, maybe, but I don't think so.
There was one, like,
Oh yeah, and then so like I used the purple light to find where I needed to go. I'm like, oh, perfect! I finally found like the right fucking door because that
The symbols on it or whatever.
yeah,
That puzzle was fucking maddening.
yes, it was
Because not every
Hey-o.
time, not every stage required that purple lantern,
no,
Yeah.
which was infuriating. Because you'd walk around with the purple lantern and be like, I don't see a fucking door. What the fuck?
Or I don't see a rune on the ground or anything. Like, where the fuck am I supposed to be going?
Yeah.
That, specifically, all of those, like, that whole puzzle infuriated me. It was my least favorite part of the entire fucking game.
Oh yeah, and you just see him maybe like a glimpse, like walk by. So you're walking on eggshells. You're like, is he gonna pop out? Is he not? And then you get through like a couple stages of the puzzle. You're like, I guess they probably just put him there to, you know, kind of keep you on edge. So no problem.
Jump scare.
And then, fucking then, I'm like, oh, well, this is probably the last piece of it because it's like the end of this puzzle. I'm hoping because it's been fucking 45 minutes trying to figure this goddamn thing out. So I'm just going to run to where I need to go. So I'm running. And
Ran
it
out of
just
oil?
pops down right in front. Oh, no. I ran out of oil once because I was wondering. And I'm sitting there because I see the little flame going down. I'm like, it's going to get dark. It's gonna get dark.
Does he come out if you run out?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he comes and gets you, and then but you just reset. Like you just see a little
just
glimpse
resets
of him.
that checkpoint.
It's not that bad. It's not when you're running full head of steam down the fucking hallway to where you need
Oh
to
yeah,
go.
I was running full steam too.
And he just pops down like, oh fuck! And I even like I had to pause it for a second. I had to go out, refill my water, and Morgan's
shit,
like,
Change his underwear.
yeah. Oh no, I got so sad. Goosebumps, hard nipples. I'm like, what the fuck? Morgan's like,
Fear
are you?
boner.
Yeah, no, not too far off. Morgan's like, are you okay? I'm like, I got scared in the game. She's like, it's going to be okay. I'm like, don't patronize me. You weren't there.
I got really scared and now really hard.
I did. Help take care of this. What? But no, that one, I think, was the most, at least like jump scare or just scary part that caught me off guard in the entire game was when he just popped down in front of the fucking hallway. Like, son of a bitch.
The one that got me the most was the next. Maybe it was the next time
when you're with a girl.
When you're playing as Sarah.
and you're doing when you're Argonon. Yeah, you are Sarah then at that point. And you and you're doing the whole glyphs thing.
Oh, okay.
And there's the one in the cell.
Yeah,
and then
that was the
yeah.
second glyph. Yeah.
It was the second one. Yeah, the second one. So the first time I did it, I was like in there, and he popped out in the cell. So I was like, okay, that's on me. So he obviously got me, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to knock the door down. He's going to pop out of the cell. I'll be good. Ran him off, deterred him away at the fucking what looked like an elevator shaft or whatever. And I was like, okay, let me go back to the cell. So I go back to the cell, and then I do the glyph, and then I'm running back, and he fucking gets me again. I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought I had you.
When I beat that segment, he would only come out one time. But the 2 times that I died doing that segment was when I lost him, and then I was like, haha, sucks to be you, and he would just like come out of a wall.
Blah, 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 blah.
God!
Yeah.
Cool. Here's some poop.
I realized that I probably wouldn't survive a game like this if I was in it.
Oh no,
Absolutely not.
Like if
I'd
it was
be
if
dead.
it was real life and you were the person that had to do these things. Oh no, yeah, we'd all be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Harry because he just like walks in through life without a fucking care. He's like, I don't fucking shut the fuck up. Throw a lantern at him. It's like, fire, bitch.
Harry's too oblivious to go mad. He's just
Yeah.
like,
It's like, we're gonna get your thoughts. It's like, I don't have those. Fuck you.
to solve this puzzle, you'll have to write something and listen. Nah, not
Not
doing
gonna do it. And then the
Today,
puzzle.
today's
explodes.
not that day, Steve, but I want to dive into that impression that I give off that I go through life without caring.
Okay.
I did not have this realization.
All right. Well, that's a further discussion. Maybe for mubbers.
Yeah, we'll give Harry a personality test and then break down every aspect of it.
Harry, how do you feel about this? I don't know. Point proven.
Oh, man. And so I want to circle back. We mentioned it earlier, the other puzzle, which was in the asylum where you had to distract the guards. That really pissed me off because there was like what seemed like several different ways to distract the guards to escape the asylum. You could do the whole set off the electric chair thing. You could get the sleeping pills for the guy, and then he would distract them by making noise. And then there was the one where you could do the steam or whatever the fuck.
Like the gas or something.
Yeah, where you turn the valves or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, hold on, real quick. I did the gas thing, and like literally, Pierce was like, "It didn't work."
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So that was...
I had to do the electric thing.
Yeah, you have to do the electric thing.
Oh,
I did the pills thing. and
So
then
I did the pills
gas
thing, and all it did was distract different guards,
Oh.
which didn't help me at all. I was like,
I
okay,
did the pills and the gas. I didn't do the electric thing.
really?
Yeah.
I ended up doing all three.
Oh.
I did the electric thing last.
Oh.
Because the first two, I did the pills first, and the guys didn't move from the door. It moved like guards in the back.
Yeah.
And then I did the steam or gas thing or whatever the fuck, and then it moved another different set of guards, and I was like, motherfucker. So then I was like, why did I have all these fucking options and spend an hour doing this if I had to do the electric thing from the beginning?
Yeah.
So I had died and then just did the electric thing.
Yeah.
I didn't like go back and like redo the stuff. I have a question. After you do that, you're kind of like running down a corridor and then you get gassed. Does that happen?
I'm trying to think back.
Did anyone do the gas thing and the electric thing in the same run where you didn't get fucked up in between and then go down?
Yeah, I did both.
Yeah.
I did all except the pills.
Did you get gassed?
I don't remember
You
getting
ran down there?
gassed.
Yeah, I don't remember getting gassed
Yeah,
either.
I don't
I just
think I remember
remember
getting gassed.
going to see the guards, and then I went into the room, and then like I talked to whatever the fuck his name was in there that had the paintings and everything.
So
And I didn't get gassed.
when you get done that part, I think that's when you end up waking up. Bradley saves you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I got gassed and passed out. That's how I ended up back at
Yeah,
the
I did the
Hawkins
same
estate.
thing.
Okay, so you got gassed. Did you get gassed at that point?
Maybe.
Did that bring up anything for you, Harry? Do you remember how you got back to the Hawkins estate after that then?
I
No.
passed out. I got attacked by something in the room, though.
Oh. Remember how we were talking about Oblivious?
Oh,
Harry?
yeah. Okay, wait. So I went
got
into
attacked
that.
by something.
Yeah, I didn't get attacked. I saw an attack. The one guy that was in there got attacked.
Oh, yeah. He got picked up, and he was, like, floating around.
Oh, yeah,
and,
the
like,
guy that had the bandages over his eyes.
Yeah. And then you get gassed.
Yeah.
I did. That's how I ended up back at the...
I think I got out of that room and got to the next room. Because you get back to the stairwell where Bradley decides he's just going to take stairs for fucking 20 years. And then he saves you.
I think that sounds
And that's
more
where you
long.
get gassed. Is like a hallway after the stairwell.
Because I think
After that room.
I remember leaving the cell of the blinded dude who was just like thrown about by
The Shambler.
the Shambler.
Or Leviathan.
Yeah.
Leviathan, sorry.
Yeah, I think so, because I think I still do remember leaving that room, and then because then you leave the room and then you meet up with his wife afterwards. Was it?
Yeah, once Bradley saves you and everything.
Yeah.
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 I don't know. That was this whole game was a little bit of a.
There was
blur.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
I feel
There
like
was
at
a
some points where
lot.
I was like, some points I felt like I was having trouble keeping it a little bit together. I mean, maybe it was the madness wearing off.
It was like chapter 6 through 9, where just like there was a lot going on that they just kind of stuffed. You're doing this, now you're doing this, now you're this person, now you're this person, but you're still in the same chapter. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else for gameplay?
I think the leveling up was somewhat pointless in a way, because I was almost maxed out. Like, I think you should have. I feel like this game could have catered to choosing like a path and really sticking to that. But I mean, I was almost completely maxed out except for the yellow ones.
I was not.
No.
No. So I maxed out my medicine. I didn't max out the occult, which I want to, before I go on to the other one, just want to ask a quick question. The occult, we kind of referenced it earlier, where the dialogue options where you're speaking the relay or language.
Yeah.
When you're selecting the dialogue for that, does it transcribe those into English so you know what you're asking?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Well, it does after you select it.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
right. But so in some instances, you had 4 dialogue options in relay, and you didn't know which was which.
Yeah, especially the one where you're talking to Leviathan.
Right.
And
Yeah,
there were
that's
like 6
that's
options
where my
all in.
quip came from.
Yeah, that was it's like there was nothing like I saw.
Choose your own blind adventure, pretty much. There.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, because I was like, man, I wonder if you max out a cold, if you can read this.
I read online all 6 are like the same.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. So what I thought was actually cool was I wouldn't call it a spoiler, but Clarke told me there was no combat in this when I first gave him some grief about the LA Noire comment I made. And feeling he's like, don't worry, there's no combat. I was like, okay. So I knew not
Surprise.
to spec strength.
Yeah.
And I immediately spec'd investigation, and I feel like that helped a lot because it was really easy to find clues, and I felt like it helped a lot.
Spot hidden
Yeah.
helped a lot too. A ton, actually. I think I had that. I had most things maxed. I had a Colt 4. I think I missed 2 artifacts I missed 1 artifact for a Colt because I think there's 4 things that level that up from 1 to 5. I don't think the leveling system has too big an actually, I feel like the leveling system actually has more of an impact when you create your character. The first couple of times you are asked certain things, you have all of those, like, it seems like there's a larger array of options.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like teeters off into like, do you know your medicine while you're in the asylum, and do you know your occult whenever you're talking to Sarah Hawkins, pretty much.
Yeah. Not wrong.
And Argonon or whatever.
I mean, they
Algernon.
Algernon. Yeah, I mean they do play a part in your, I think a lot of it, or at least in my aspect, a lot of it comes down to your dialogue because the biggest one I put my points into was eloquence, to being able to speak and
Influence people. And
exactly. It's like, instead of, okay, I can either do it by force, like with strength or something else, but in the beginning I'm like, I don't feel like that's this type of game. So I went into more of like, okay, let me have some persuasion through speech instead of my fist. And that seemed to kind of pop up a little bit more. And then I think even towards the end of the game, I think it was like the only one time, because it wasn't like mastered or like maxed out, that it was grayed out, but it still showed me that it was grayed out. It's like, you just didn't do good enough in this aspect.
You were like, oh, if you leveled this up one more time, this would have been an option.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. You're really kind of like pushing me on that one. So, I mean, I try to, at least when it came to the skill points, I try to keep it a little more balanced between all of them. So I'm like, okay, well, so 4 points to level up this one. I'm like, all right, well, probably by the next time I'm ready to do this, I'll have another 4 points or 6 points, so I can do like 1.5 or whatever it is. So I try to distribute them, and strength was kind of like the last one by it. And I did my damnedest without the guide for 80% of the game to try to get like the occult and the medicine and the whatnot, and which was led enough, because then I could speak through, it's like as if I, knew the Necronomicon,
right,
front and back a little bit, and I at least got the achievement by the end of it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I did good, which I think there were only, after I looked after it, like 9 talking points for the speaking in the relay.
Yeah.
I did all 9.
Oh, nice. Cool.
I don't remember if I got all 9. I think I skipped 1 for some fucking reason. I thought I would be able to go back to it. That is something in the gameplay that pissed me off, is like without warning, there were times
just cut off the rest of the dialogue options and the story would move.
Yeah. Like it didn't seem like it was trailing off to be like, oh, this is the end of a conversation. And you're about to make your final statement, and that's really hard to do when you're speaking Raleigh and you don't know until you say it, So
yeah,
I think I missed 1 of those.
Even some of the regular like English dialogue was like that too, where like you'd have like 3 options or whatever, and most of the game, like, you pick an option, you go through the dialogue, you done the dialogue, you pick another option, or pick the obvious leave conversation dialogue. There was other ones where there was no obvious leave conversation dialogue, and you would pick one, and then you would go through, and there was like 2 or 3 left, and then you would pick another one, and then it was over. And you're like, oh, fuck. Like, I thought I was going to get the other 2 also. Like, how did...
They shouldn't have done a change up. Stick one way or the other.
Yeah, it caught me so off guard, and I was like... I wouldn't call it paranoid, but I was like, well, I didn't know what to do moving on after that. I was like, how do I...
Well, at the same time, I kind of appreciate that, because that is choose your own adventure. What would you say to that person? And if that's what you're going to say, well, maybe that's the end of the conversation. And I only really learned that from like Fallout 3, because you can have all these different options and you pick one and then that's the end. I'm like, no,
Yeah, but they should have
more.
started the game that way and not have like the full the wheel where you can just kind of go around all the options.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially one of the ones
Because you
where
got
it's like it shows the same one.
gamifying at that point.
Yeah. Well, I also think that may come into, there's the other skill where it's like perceiving what the other person. I think there was one of the skills psychology. Something like that. Specifically, where maybe if that was a little higher level, then you could have more options to kind of dive a little deeper, or at least maybe have, select one option to get information and be able to go back again. I mean, I have no idea. I'm not necessarily probably going to play through this game again to find out, but, that may have a little bit of a factor to it. But again, what do I know? Nothing. Son of a bitch. God damn it, Joe.
Fucking trashed.
Do we have more to say about gameplay?
I feel like there's something else I wanted to bring up. I feel like the what the hell did they call him in the game?
Recreation?
Maybe. So like the first one you come across is when you're on the island and you're in the water and you get that panicky drowning feeling.
Oh,
and
his panic attacks.
Well, yeah, but there's like more of them that you encounter throughout the game, right? And they go into your fucking journal or whatever the hell that you had to clear out all the time. But I thought that was kind of interesting to like, because those were also jump scares, but I think they were also like, I don't know if it was like him descending into badness, him, like I was like, at first I was like, okay, did something happen in his past life when he was in the army or whatever he was doing?
Yeah.
But I thought that was actually kind of cool to like go through and see all of these encounters that he had. And the weird part to me was like, by the time you were done the game, like that list where it would like unlock like your panic attacks or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like only half of them were exposed for me.
Huh.
Like I was like, okay, how did I miss? Like these seemed like permanent plot points or something like that. And I was like, how did I miss like half of these things?
Yeah, I never actually looked at that one. I just talked them up to like panic attacks. Like he's just freaking out. And most of the time was when he was in like a confined area. So I'm like, okay, so you're claustrophobic too.
Yeah.
Like towards the end, like when you're going down through, like you go through a little grate and he's in the pipe. He's like, huh. Or when you're in the asylum and you can go through like the walls and whatnot. And he's panicking while he was in there. So,
well, because it's, I think he's afraid of the dark.
Great show.
It really is. And a bad thing to pursue if you're going after the occult. It's like, oh, I'm afraid of the dark. Hey, welcome to darkness.
So speaking of that, I feel like after the second chapter, I never used my lighter. Like you had the lantern, which had limited fuel.
Yeah.
And then like for some reason I was like, okay, it's like, hold triangular Y or whatever, like hold the button and you could swap between your lantern and the lighter had infinite fuel. But I couldn't get the lighter back out. And I was like, I know I have this lighter in my pocket. How the fuck do I use it without burning all my fuel?
After a certain point, the only thing that you would bring out is the lantern. And the only time I use that is if I'm walking through an area and the little question mark would pop up in the corner, like the little green one. It's like, you need to pull out your lantern to find a clue. You want to find a clue? Pull out your lantern and like pull it out. It's like, here's the clue. I'm like, oh, there you are.
But a raging clue.
For me, it was like left on the D-pad. Switched between the lantern or the lighter. What's interesting that I thought was like, okay, so that's not the only difference between the lantern and the lighter. The lighter is infinite, but you can't run with it. When you run, the light goes out.
Oh, interesting.
That's true.
And then when you have the lantern out, you can run and it'll keep the light, but it burns the fuel, which I actually used that to my advantage. Anytime that I was just like kind of wandering around, I was like, okay, lighter. And And for the war, I didn't cover this in the story. I just want to make it known now. He was part of the Lost Battalion, which is like a famous World War One incident, essentially.
Yeah.
So he came back from something that's kind of mysterious in general. Let's open the next chapter of graphics.
Oh, fuck!
Graphics.
I think the graphics are pretty abysmal.
I disagree.
The amount of clipping
Okay,
that I've
so-
seen,
so-
holy shit.
There's a difference between just graphics and like the actual like aesthetics and like art style. I think the non like important characters were bad. Oh yeah. Atrociously bad.
Gordon's Fisherman.
100%.
The Gordon's fisherman.
But I think the actual environments and things like that were really well done.
That's where I'll give the environments looked really cool.
Yes.
The people, no.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying the people look good, but I don't think that the graphics are trash. Like I actually think that like a lot of the environmental and like the effects, like the water,
The lighting
like,
was good.
the lighting was good. The things that are supposed to be like moist and gross look moist and gross.
Like when he
and-
got dropped into that pit in the very beginning, like
Yeah.
in his vision and whatnot, where you're just like looking around, it's like, what the fuck?
All like the fish parts or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, they nailed it on that. Something I did notice, even just by finishing the game today, when they had a close up of his hair, that just looked like
Did you notice
plastic.
or like broom bristles just like floating around a little bit.
fun fact about his hair that I fucking noticed like 2/3 into the game? He has madness hair. When he is having a fucking like episode where he's going fucking insane, his hair is real wavy and down, but when he's like normal and like composed, it's like slicked back and like it's like
Huh.
I noticed it. Like it's the first time he had his fucking panic attack, he's like wavy and like looks
more
like
disheveled.
disheveled. Yeah. And then
And
when
then he
he's,
gets out, it's like, oh, I need
calm
to
and-
fix myself a little bit. Let me
and
get
like
that back up there.
I like it's dumb. It's really dumb. But like anytime he was on screen, I was like, is he okay or is he like being mad right now?
He's having a
just
bare hair
like,
day.
yeah, like oh, like he's got like his bangs are out and like it's not all slicked back and like perfectly like coiffed or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like I was like, oh, he's having an episode right now.
Yeah, that's where at least like it's like with the graphics, it's like I want to be upset at it like at some points, but I can really appreciate it at other points. So already saying like the environments and everything else, I appreciate that. Aside from his hair, there's the one where you're finishing up the one chapter where you play as him and you're trying to find Marie, and you go, I think it's right before you find Sarah Hawkins for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't go straight to the cell where you see yourself and you keep running, and he's like, this goes on forever. You go through like 3 passes, I guess, of the way it says, best way to say it, and you see like a glitch, like a line to make it keep repeating after that little bit.
Yeah.
I see that, I'm like, really? I mean, a lot of other things up until this point weren't that bad, but that point, I'm like, you're really like missing something. It's like I feel like you could like leave without a big fucking white line going across the top of my screen,
Right.
just to repeat the same fucking environment that I'm running down for 20 minutes if I don't realize to look left and look through a window.
Well, like I was saying before, there's a lot of like polish that they didn't put on this.
Yeah.
And I think some character models are way more interesting than other character models as well. Like I think Charles looks
Right.
awesome.
Obviously. They couldn't fuck that up.
I don't think Edward Pierce looks really great because I actually think he looks like the generic character model, just
Yeah.
with different hair and
He looks like a
and
Kmart
like a-
John Wick.
Yeah,
Let's be
like-
honest.
but then you have someone like Bradley who stands out, and you have somebody like Algernon who stands out.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like if you get any sort of like base genericness to the character, they're
like,
real bad.
Like the fisherman. Like when you
the
play
fishermen
like
that are
when
exact same character model?
motherfucker,
Yeah.
when you play as Cat, like towards the end of the game,
Yep.
and it's like you're interrogating the two. They're the exact same fucking model. One has red hair on his beard, the other has brown. They're both doing the same exact fucking movements back and forth with it. There's no differential between them except, oh, one sounds like this, the other sounds like this. We didn't do it, but we didn't do it. Punch fucking both of them. I don't care. Fucking kill them. It's like, it's annoying.
One has smoked one less pack of cigarettes than the other.
Exactly. I'm 3 packs a day. I'm 2. It's like, okay, Meredith. Fucking A.
It like Harry was saying, like I honestly, in my opinion, I think that if it was more polished and they had taken the time to really like clean up a lot of this stuff, it wouldn't have been as noticeable.
No.
If they would have made 4 other character models to just sprinkle in with the NPCs, but they didn't. And so like that is a big like stroke against this. And they did turn it out in 2 years. I get that it's not like super polished and anything, and I don't necessarily think that it's like the most amazing looking game. But like definitely the environments I think are worth note. And I think like the items and like the artifacts and things like that are kind of interesting as well.
They're fun.
They're fun and interesting, like but like the character models are really bad. The clipping that Harry was saying is like really bad.
The movements are bad too.
Yes, the telegraphed movements. Did you ever notice that Sarah Hawkins just does this thing where she puts her hands up and then flares them out to the sides and then
I was
brings
thinking
them
of this
back in?
painting. I don't know. Cyan green. Is it darker green?
Yeah,
I don't
is it
know
a dark
what it's
green
about.
or is it a light green? You guys can't see this, but we're just kind of waving our hands erratically, and that's kind of what she does. It's real bad. Like the animation is bad in this game. I actually don't think anything is like animated well.
The mouth movements during dialogue, horrendous.
Terrible.
Absolutely horrendous.
Were they like a quarter second off for the rest of for like some of like
you
the
couldn't
cutscenes?
tell they were so bad.
It's like
It didn't matter. It was like watching the Canadians on South Park.
hey friend. But I almost, because I did notice like the cutscenes, I mean, again, it could just be like a PC performance issue. It's like the cutscenes, the dialogue was off from the mouth movements. But when it's in like the actual gameplay where like you can move your character right afterwards, on point.
It was probably just the game. Like, I tried not to pay attention to it because it was so bad at some points. Like,
I mean,
some points I had to like actively not look at their mouth because I was getting pissed because I was just like,
Yeah,
it's one of those things in games that really drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I honestly, since we're talking about speech, does anyone else have anything else to say about this? Can we get into the sound and stuff? Like, we're starting to get there anyway.
All right, we roll.
Yeah,
so anything else for graphics? Nothing for.
I don't want to hype up, at least on my front. I don't think I can hype up the graphics on the environments to that level. I think they're okay. I think they kind of fell into that rushing of this project as well, and I think the environments could have used a couple more layers of textures on some of the spots. I did like where they were going with that opening scene at the docks when you first get. I like that little town. It's a shame it's a little bit on the small end, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I get that. It gives you the feeling of it. It's like, okay, this is
It's like misty and everything.
Grungy fisherman town.
But
And
it was a little bland. I just expect more
whores.
when it comes to PS. Yes, more horrors. More horrors.
All right, let's cast a spell into sound.
Audio.
So I don't think anything in the sound in this game is great. I can't think of any, like, I mean, if I have to say something like mildly interesting, I think the voice effects on Leviathan is cool. But other than that, I think the voice acting isn't great. I think the sound quality is terrible. I noticed this specifically with Pierce. that his voice would go from kind of like a whisper to like this to talking like this, and it'll be fine.
Yes. Between cutscenes and regular in-game dialogue, there was a big.
I was having that effect while he was just speaking. It was sentence to sentence for me.
So really bad, like TV volume syndrome, where it's like, oh, here's
God
a little
damn.
thing.
Yeah, it was fucking terrible. Like, I don't have, like, other than, like, the sound effects on Leviathan, and the only reason that those are probably good is because he didn't have a fucking mouth to move, like, that you could fucking see. I have nothing good to say about the sound quality of this game. I don't think it's well done whatsoever. Oh, I don't think the music is bad. I don't think there was a lot of music, and I think some of the that's another nice thing that I'll say is, like, I think some of the creepy kind of like the hissing and the madness sounds and things like that, like, I think that stuff works, but it's not extraordinary. It's not, anything that we haven't. All of us as seasoned horror gamer players, like, it doesn't stand out.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at least where I won't totally agree with you to the extent of, like, the voice acting and the volume for it, they could have done a lot better. I will say some of, like, the sound effects, or at least, like, the ambiance around, like, the background noises kind of hit the point. The Shambler sounded creepy as fuck, and especially, like, in, like, the art gallery, or when you're going through the asylum when he was around, you could always hear that he's, like, omnipresent, like, he's still there, but is he there? He's not, but is he? Who knows what's going on? I got the creepiness factor I really got out of, like, the soundtrack of it. I mean, it's not like there was really any music other than a good old sea shanty.
Steve loves a good sea shanty.
I do, but even that, I'm not really digging that sea shanty. There wasn't whole lot of harmony with it. They were pretty monotone. So I'm not the biggest fan. We can kick that up a couple notches. But yeah, it's I don't know. I will say this is literally a hit or miss. The hit, everything going on around you that you're really not paying attention to, really kind of helps fit the scenery and the story going on. The stuff that you need to pay attention to, that was the miss, and it just failed to deliver for really anything. I don't know. I just didn't really get. I don't know. We played so many games where at least, like, when you hear the dialogue, there might be some emotion out of it, or making it feel like this, character is feeling the way they feel. Oh, I need to send back the Shambler back to its dimension. I don't know how to really do that, but I think I understand where in the painting that I created long ago.
Listeners can't see this.
No, okay. If you can't see, I'm being Sarah Hawkings and just fucking
wacky inflatable arm tube man, pretty much.
Exactly. I mean, it's just
hands everywhere. Like, it's
my visual representation isn't just for the listeners; it's for you.
I'm gonna jump off of Steve's point though. I think
careful.
That's my dick.
I think the environmental sounds were good. Like the storms were ominous. The running on certain different floors and puddles and all of that stuff worked.
The Foley
for me.
work.
Yeah, like that was fine. But as Steve said, like
ew. Ew.
The dialogue to me was well written but poorly performed.
Yes.
Because I did enjoy the dialogue.
I did too.
As far as the writing.
Yeah. Let's make a miraculous catch of final thoughts.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I see what you did there. Because they called that in the game. Turned out to be the giant demon man.
The demon Leviathan.
We call him Squid Face. We eat it.
Final thoughts.
All right. Final thoughts on the game. Harry, go first.
I think this game is maddening to think that there's more there than there actually is. Final thoughts.
It's 2/4 of the way full.
He's going to give it a 4.
Oh no, I think that's generous. I got my call. I'll write it down on a piece of paper right now.
All right, Steve, what do you got?
I like the premise of the game. I feel like the delivery was a bit lacking. So that's where I'm a little conflicted where it gets into the score. I honestly, by this point, 2021, if you can do it, remake it if you revamp it and actually,
Finish it. It just seems unfinished.
yeah, it just have people voice it who seem like they give a fuck, and everything we hit. I'd play a remake, but I'm a little sad I spent the money on it.
Joe?
Man, I am so torn on this game. There were moments in this game where I really enjoyed it and moments in this game where I was really confused. At the same time, it's like, choose your own adventure. Like, I really like these games. It didn't feel like a choose your own adventure, though. No. Like, it felt very linear. And, there's different endings and things like that, but, like, it felt very forced down one path the whole time. So I am very torn about this game. I find it odd that the 4 of us played the game separately and we all got the quote unquote same ending choices. But yeah, so anyways, like I said, I'm very torn on the game and how it's pitched and how it played and all of that.
I think the story is interesting and it brings up some interesting philosophical questions, but other than that, I think that you get out of this game what you want to have, like a kind of like a philosophical debate about with like madness. It's more so the story is interesting. The game itself is not. If you can separate the two, I think the story is way more interesting than the actual game was able to do in 2 years, and that's definitely a big knock on the game itself.
The score.
All right, let's move into the scores. Harry?
I'm going to go 4.5 out of 10.
It's actually higher than I was expecting. So
It was like right at that average mark, but like
I honestly thought you were going to go like 2.5 to 3.
no. I had some enjoyment out of this game.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more mid-range for me.
C- for same reason. I think the story was very involving, but I think the delivery was just very lacking.
Like I said, I'm very tough on this. I think I'm going to give it like a 65%.
That's kind of in line with what Metacritic is. Metacritic, I think, is like a 65-ish for this game.
So how about yourself?
I think if you enjoy the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, it's a get on sale, like a steep sale, like $10. And if not, it's an avoid. So join us in 2 weeks, and we are going to be covering the PS1 in our Mubbers retrospective.
OG PlayStation.
OG PS1.
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
So excited.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, stay lovely.
Stay sexy.
I love you guys.
Stay safe.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on social media and all streaming platforms at Superfun Podcast for more episodes. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend about us and consider becoming a Patreon member for more exclusive content.